Alrighty, so we're going to go into a next platform speaker team. So just to transition out of that bucket list space and into the next one, give me a little whoosh on your tables, please. 1, 2, 3, whoosh. All right. Now, our next platform speaker team is an expert in the cyber security area. Okay, cyber security. Who hears those two words and freaks out a little bit? Okay, good. Now, this particular person has got numerous years prior to running their own business in that space, working professionally and then also in the police force. So there's a lot of professional and organisational knowledge in this particular individual. Okay, so he has so many qualifications and degrees in IT things that I don't understand. I'm not going to bother repeating them, but there's a whole bunch of them with all acronyms that are about that long on the page. So they're really, really cool. He's super knowledgeable in this stuff. He's an EBS client as well on the board of director program, so he's eating his own cooking as it relates to all of our work as well. And to take you all the way through to lunch, I'd love you to give you a big warm welcome, please, to James from Cyonic. Give him a hand.
All right, who believes they've got excellent cyber security? Awesome. Who believes they don't have very good cyber security? Okay. Who here doesn't care? Okay, interesting. So many years ago, I remember sitting in my mother and father's lounge room watching a program called Rage. Yeah, I know. On there was a guy called Jimmy Barnes. And I thought to myself, what could I do to be more like Jimmy Barnes? And then it came to me. When I grow up, or put it on my bucket list maybe, I'm going to become a rock star. But I was lacking two things. One, I didn't have the ability, couldn't sing. And the other, I didn't have a cool rock star name. So I come up with a real inventive way to come up with a rock star name. And I want to share it with you all now so we can all come up with our rock star name in the next couple of minutes. Is that okay? Cool. So grab a pen. The way that you come up with your rock star name is by joining two words together. The first part of the word is going to be your first pet's name. And the second part of the word is going to be your mother's maiden name. Has everyone got that? Mine was Fluffy Dover. I want you all now to turn to the person beside you and tell them your new rock star name. We've got 20 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds, everyone. Okay, come back. Who here told the person beside you your rock star name? Thank you all for your participation. What we actually did there was tell the person beside us the answers to the two most commonly asked secret questions to break into your account. Meaning that in some circumstances, we don't need to know your password. We'll just reset them. My name is James Eckart. I'm the CEO and founder of Cyonic. Since 2004, we've been helping and advising business in IT. We've sat on advisory boards and answered directly to executives as their Chief Information Officer. We've worked with Queensland Police, and we've helped some of our clients grow from 3 to over 300 in a little under 8 years. Today, I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey through the IT landscape as it relates to IT. Yes, there will be an offer at the end of this presentation where you will get a chance to work with me and my team, but most importantly, my goal today is to create awareness around cybersecurity and what every business needs to know. So I've handpicked 6 topics that I'll run through with you today. And I'll just run through them quickly now. First one is common mistakes that we see in business every day. A bit of cybersecurity. We're going to go into that. We're going to dip into a bit of the dark web. Then we're going to go and take our hand in a bit of phishing. And we're going to go into a bit of email compromise. This sounds thrilling, doesn't it? And the last one is going to be a bit of a mystery, but it is the biggest risk to business today. So when we first go into a business for the first time and check their systems, we often see them very reactive, seeing IT as a necessary evil. This Rubik's Cube represents a piece of technology in the whole IT realm. And it's also a really good representation of most small, medium business IT strategy. A little bit hit and miss. And usually when we meet them, the business owner's the one running around trying to implement all these strategies. And he's been told by someone or recommended from a friend that they should be using Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive because he can share files and access them anywhere, right? So they implement these changes without having a plan or any real thought. And they move these pieces not knowing that they've just affected other faces on the cube. And that's when we meet them. And they often feel a little bit like this guy. Now that was Pete before he started with EBS Community. Who here's felt like that guy before? I know yous have. My tips for you for this particular topic is have an IT plan that aligns with your vision and your strategic goals. This is a little bit what we do at Cyonic. We align all the faces on the Rubik's Cube to align with your vision and your strategic goals. The other part is be proactive. Don't wait for something to happen. Usually it's too late. I'm now going to go into this next part. And it's the reason that I'm here today. That this is the passion. This is why I started IT many years ago. Cybersecurity. It is predicted to impact 1 in 5 businesses in the next 12 months. 1 in 5. Just think about that. Last year, it accounted for $6 trillion in global revenue and is estimated to get to a whopping $10.5 trillion at the end of 25, making it the 3rd largest economy on the planet. But we don't seem to hear a lot of it, do we? I'm going to show you a quick video shortly, but before I do, I want to run through a couple of myths that we often see business owners fall into. And the first one is that my data is not valuable to anyone, right? And in most cases, I'd say true. Your data wouldn't be valuable to me at all. But my answer to you, it doesn't have to be valuable to me or anyone. It only has to be valuable to you. If I took your data away today, how would that affect you? How would that affect your business? This is a good one too. All my files are on the cloud, right? Everyone's got their files on Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive or SharePoint, right? So that you don't have to worry about backing it up. Well, again, this is a bit of a myth. Google and Microsoft support versioning, And the best way to explain versioning is there's an original file, and each change that you make, you actually create a different version of that file. So if I was to corrupt all those versions, you'd lose all your data. And that's exactly what happens in a ransomware attack. I'm going to show you this quick video now, and I guarantee that you're going to see some things in here that you would not be aware of. So please take some notes.
DEF CON is the biggest hacker convention of the year. It's a place where thousands of hackers come to hear talks, to demonstrate their newest hacks. It's actually a place that's so dangerous to be on the internet that they tell you to turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on your phone, and they tell you not to use the ATMs too, because those could be hacked as well. This is the DEF CON ballroom. This is sort of the main room where things are happening, and it's pretty wild. I think this is car hacking village. This car's locked. Can you get me in?
I'll unlock it for you. Should be good.
Hacking is no longer like this fringe activity, and if you are at DEF CON, there's a good chance that you're here because you want to learn what could happen to you or your company.
Anyone here first time in the SCCTF? Holy crap.
I invited Chris to hack me with his team, but they're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
We help people with human security issues by testing vulnerabilities for like a network test, but it's for the people network. We test those vulnerabilities, see where the holes are, and then help people learn so they can patch them.
Can we try some of this? Can we try some?
Yeah.
See if it works?
Yeah, we probably could have our star visher here make some phone calls as your
Let's do
girlfriend.
it.
Sure. Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you gonna call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider
Okay.
and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna spoof from your number, so it's gonna look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry, I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
gmail.com?
Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account. Okay, my
Jessica uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my
Thank you
password.
so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yes.
I really thought that my cell phone company would protect me. I mean, like, this is the most basic stuff, and they're not doing it. And if they're not doing it, you know all these other businesses aren't doing it either.
So who's here a little bit more aware of what can happen out there now with that little short video? That was no computer codes in there at all. So why do they do it? Well, it's easy money. It's run exactly like a big business with a kingpin and actually hiring their hackers. There's a website where you can go to find who the best hacker is in the world. So imagine trying to catch a thief that has the power of invisibility. This is how they do it. And they use this tool called the dark web. Who's here heard of the dark web before? Who here's been on the dark web before? Before I go into the dark web, I want to explain the internet as a whole. And the internet can be broken into three sections: the surface web, the deep web, and the dark web. Just picture for a second all the websites in the world, all the videos on YouTube. Must be a lot, right? Must be a massive amount. A recent study found that the surface web only accounts for 4% of the entire internet, leaving 96% underneath the surface. And like the identity iceberg from yesterday, the deep and dark web is basically below the surface and is what everything that Google cannot see, cannot index. So the things that are stored on the deep web are things like your medical records, your ATO records, your financial data, even your EBS information is on the deep web. The deep web can be explained as accessible from the internet that is protected by a password. So you can only get to it via the internet, but you have to enter a username and a password to get to it. But the dark web is a lot more secure. It is the most secure place on the internet. It uses sophisticated layering techniques, or onion routing, we call it, to encrypt its information from each bounce to 3, making it untraceable. It was designed that way. So when they're on the dark web, you can't search it. You can't use a Google search engine to search. You have to know exactly where you're going. And what people usually do on the dark web is they buy things, if you know where to go. You can buy drugs. You can buy weapons. You can buy other things that I'm not going to mention. You can buy stolen credit card information. You can even buy your credentials, your username and passwords. And to give you an example, I can buy them for around $1. So how do they get your username and password? Well, they use this technique called phishing. And like the name suggests, phishing is exactly like a fisherman. And as a fisherman changes his bait to catch a different type of fish, so will a hacker change what he presents to try and catch a different type of person. If you're a CEO of a company, he's going to use a different technique and try and make it a click as opposed to someone in HR. Now, why is that important? Well, it's because of this chart. 92.5% of all cyber incidences can be directly related to have started with a fish. 84.7% of all cyber breaches can be directly related to have started with a fish, meaning that if we could just fix this one thing, we would drastically reduce our cyber risk. So what do you look out for? Well, I'm going to give you the top 3 things to look out for. I do have a more in-depth pamphlet out there that you guys can come and grab from the booth afterwards for free. No worries, and that's for your whole team to look at. But the top 3 is that they will have a high sense of urgency. They will want you to reset your password today because you can't log in, or there's a security concern in your account. You need to log in. You've got a past due invoice. You need to click on this SharePoint link to get the invoice, or something along those lines. High sense of urgency should ring alarm bells. The next one is they will use bad English, and I've purposely put up their English bad because they will mix the context up depending on the country that does the attack. They will also most likely use a free email account, something like @Gmail or @Yahoo or @hotmail.com. So once they've got your email, your details, your username and password, what do you think they'll do with them? Just yell out a couple of things. If someone grabs your email and password, what do you think they'll do? Sit and wait. Okay, it's good. Sit and wait. Sell. Yep, that's good. So what research data? They will do. Exactly right. what the most common thing that they will do is an email compromise. And what email compromise is, actually, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to tell you a bit of a story. I've actually got a couple of stories that I want to tell you, and each one of these stories are true. So just picture you're buying your first investment property. You've had it on your dream chart for years, and the day's finally come. You've saved up $100,000, and you can finally buy this investment property. It's just a bit of land. So you go to the real estate, and you call them, and you go there, and it's just perfect. You just say, yep, let me sign. So you sign a 30-day contract. And you go backwards and forwards with a solicitor. And it's about 7 days out from settlement date. And you're thinking, why is this taking so long? It was just easy. And then you get a phone call from the solicitor. He says, hey, I've just sent you an email. In there, we've got all the details. Just double check that. And also, in there is the bank account details where we're going to need you to transfer the money. Just shoot me an email back to confirm. You say yes. So you have a read, everything looks in order, and you shoot the email back. Looks good. About 2 days out, you get another email that appears to come from the same solicitor. This one says, hey, just take notice on the attached PDF that on the bottom of the page, we've changed your bank account details and it's highlighted in yellow. So when you go to the bank on Friday to do the transfer, can you please take this form? And you write an email back saying, yes, no worries at all. So Friday comes, settlement's at 2 o'clock. You've taken your documents in early and you're just waiting now. And then at 2:02, you get the confirmation through that the funds have been transferred successfully, $100,000 is gone. And you start to celebrate. And then about 10 minutes into your celebrations, you get a phone call from the solicitor. So you take it. And he says, hey, just wanted to check to see if everything's all right. We don't have their money in our account. And you say, yeah, no, I've definitely sent it. I'll shoot you through. It's definitely been transferred. I'll shoot you the confirmation. So you email him the confirmation. And then there's a long silence. And then he tells you something that you never, ever want to hear from a solicitor. He says, you've paid the wrong account. These aren't our bank account details. I suggest you get on to your bank and see if you can stop or reverse the transaction immediately. And you say, no, you sent me an email 2 days ago stating that you've changed your bank account details and I've triple checked these are right. And he says, we never sent you an email 2 days ago. I suggest you take your machine in to get checked. I believe you've been scammed. And this is when we came into the scene. We had to check to see if this particular account was compromised, which it indeed was. In this case, the hacker gained access via a fish 6 months before the attack. 6 months of sitting there watching. 6 months of sitting there waiting. And he picked his time 2 days before settlement. Now, the end of this story doesn't end well. The client lost their whole $100,000. All that work, all that time. Can you just imagine what that would feel like? Now, I tell you this story because to me, it's very close to me. It's one of the most easiest things to protect against. And I'm going to tell you how. Grab a pen. This is probably, if you can just take one thing away today, this would be it. The first part is going to be a phone verification step. You should have at least 3 triggers in your business. 3 triggers that triggers a phone call to the supplier. The first one should be if you're paying someone for the first time, call and verify the account. The next one is if you're paying a significant amount of money that you deem significant, call and verify the account. The third one, and this is a must, if you get someone that says their bank account details have changed. You call and verify that that is correct. The second one is MFA, multi-factor authentication. Now, the easiest way to explain multi-factor authentication is by an identity check after you enter your username and password. Something like a PIN that gets sent to your mobile phone. And the next one is strong passwords. Now, as a gift to you all on your desks, there's this particular document, Password Picker. As a gift to you all, that gives you some tactics and options to create a long, memorable password. And why is that important? Well, how long do you think it takes to break a 7-digit long password? Actually, better question. How many of you have a password that's 7 digits or under? All right. We got this on camera, haven't we? It takes under a minute to break that password. Now, I've chosen a password that's 34 characters long and it's memorable. Can I show you? Now, this password would take 47 trillion years to break in our current system. And all I have done is use the power of spaces and passphrases. That's all. So use them. You won't regret it. We're up to a part now where this is another thing that once they get your details, they can either do an email compromise or they will do something a lot more malicious. And this particular part is what we call ransomware. And this doesn't just affect machines, it affects cloud systems like Google and Microsoft. If one of your employees or team can touch any part of your SharePoint or Google Docs, they've got the power to encrypt it. Back in 2019, we were engaged by a client or potential client to come in and take over their IT. Now, on the first day we've gone and we were talking with the current IT and we've done our basic checks. We're just starting to run some reports. And it was the next morning, one of my texts came to me in quite a bit of urgency. And he said, James, you need to look at this. And he showed me something that I have never seen in my whole entire life as a tech. So I called the CEO and I said, Miss CEO, can I come and see you urgently this morning? And she said, yes, come straight over. We go there, we sit down, and I slide her the bit of paper and I say to her, Miss CEO, in the last 6 hours, we have logged over 20,000 hack attempts on your system. They're all coming from China. The only thing protecting you right now is a password. I suggest we get your current IT to put in country blocking and eliminate every other country apart from Australia. And she said, thank you, I'll try and get that done. And it was the next morning, and I still remember this call like yesterday. It was at 7:02. It was the CEO. She says, James, I've been on the phone to our current IT all morning. He's just told me we've lost everything. I've got 70 employees turning up in the next hour, and I don't know what to tell them. Do you mind you and your team going in, having a look, and giving us your opinion? I said, yeah, sure, no worries. So we go there, and we see a screen that puts the fear of God into any technician. This is the worst screen that you could ever see in your IT career if you go down that path. And it's this. Doesn't look much. But in this particular case, this page was saying that this company was being held to ransom for $40,000. And if they didn't pay within 72 hours, it was going to go up 50% every day. So we start to look, and we talk to their IT. We check their backups. Because their backups weren't set up in a secure manner to protect against ransomware, they were compromised. We couldn't restore. So we kept looking, looking, and looking. And then we found a way. We found a hole. Because this particular hacker bought this software from the dark web, he didn't understand how to run it, and he missed a critical component. And we were able to restore the machines, their systems, in 72 hours. 3 days and no productivity, plus the rebuild time. This particular incident was estimated to have cost this business $50,000, but it could have been easily more than $150,000. It didn't stop there. Because this was a breach and they were holding information that was critical, they had to notify everyone in their database to tell them that they had a breach. So brand reputation was hurt. The other part is because it was a notifiable data breach, we had to notify the authorities, which then led to an external investigation. And if this company couldn't prove that they were in the midst of changing to an IT provider that had the skills that was needed, they would have been hit with another $45,000 fine. Back in 2011, Target lost millions of clients' credit card information over the busiest time of the year, just before Christmas. I tell you this story because the breach didn't happen from Target. It happened from a contractor that had access to the Wi-Fi of Target. And the contractor was hit with this ransomware. And because the contractor stored their passwords in a nice little file called passwords, oh, look at those laughs. The hacker found that, went in there and found the Wi-Fi password and just sat outside the Target stores and captured that data going backwards and forwards over the busiest time of the year. Now, this attack is the same attack that happened on JBS Foods last year and Channel 9. And both of those have large IT budgets and good cyber security. My question to you is, do you think it's easier to hack a company that has good cyber security and a large IT budget than one that doesn't? Who would most likely pay for their data to come back? This is a really big one, but I'm going to give you, again, the top 3 tips for this particular topic. Is have regular risk assessments. Even vulnerability testing must be done on your systems to see where the holes are. And this can't be just left every 12 months or 6 months. This has to be ongoing. Also, cybersecurity awareness training, a little bit like what you're getting now, but a little bit more in depth and for your whole team. It only starts with a click, and that's anyone in your team can start that. Use artificial intelligent antiviruses with machine learning, something like Sentinel-1 instead of Norton or Trend Micro. Now, as I come to the end of my presentation, I want you to imagine where all this is looked after, a place where all the skills are maintained, a place where IT doesn't have to hold you back. This is where our motto came from, IT, you don't have to think about. Before I go, I want to leave you with these last words. On one hand, IT can make a business, it can create efficiencies, automate tasks, and create consistencies. And on the other hand, it can cripple a business within minutes. Let's try and keep it on the first hand. Thank you.
Keep it going. Give him a hand. Give him a hand.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, James. Well done, mate. I'm going to go and microwave my phone and throw my laptop in the ocean. So that's very good. I guess Peter 123 is going to have to be changed.